Hey everyone, Nubkeks here and welcome back to Heroes of the Storm and the Road to Grandmaster. Got a really fun game for you guys today. But yeah, we did a stream yesterday, which was pretty cool. But we're back on track with the regular content on YouTube now today. Probably planning on doing streams if you're interested in that stuff. Streaming maybe 2 days, Monday to Thursday. I'll probably do another video talking about it in a bit more detail, but that's kind of the rough sort of thing I'm thinking about. Anyway, leave some feedback down below if you would like to. But anyway, the fun thing about this game is run into our friend Meowx on the enemy team, which is really funny. We'd actually been sitting, both of us, in the queue for ages waiting for this game, and I'd actually been chatting to him, or her, I don't know which is which, but I don't know which is which. I'm confused about genders in general. But yeah, I was like, is the queue broken or something? You've been in the queue for like 10 minutes and like I've been in the queue for ages. I got 2 games and they both got cancelled like before we even got to the draft. What is going on? But anyway, we both ended up against each other, which is a lot of fun. So I really did enjoy this game. The Meowx is a really good player and you're gonna see that in this game. Anyway, he's saying to deal with his Tyrande because it's the only healer he has. I'm going to be a nice person and not tell my teammates that. Anyway, we've led off with the first pick, Artanis, which is really good. We're not team captain this time as well, which is really nice. And the enemy team grabbed Sylvanas and ETC, so 2 very good picks for them as well. I was considering what to pick for myself. I figured I'd actually play Li-Ming. Haven't played Li-Ming for you guys yet, or not in a long time. In the Road to Grandmaster, so it's a different hero. I think she's really good here on this particular map. She's also good against ETC, pretty good against Sylvanas as well, so at least it's open for some other things. Now we grab Stitches, and not sure about Stitches pick at all. I think that's a bit of a problem. He's okay on the map for sure, but I don't know if that really combos very well with the Artanis at all. The enemy team actually pans out Medivh, which is interesting. They're scared of the Medivh Stitches combo, which is that you gorge someone, Medivh throws down a portal, and they're just super screwed. It makes makes Stitches super lethal. You can just walk them into the death zone near the entrance to your base on this particular map, or elsewhere as well. We actually ban out the Tychus. And then the team grabs Chromie. I actually believe these 2 picks are really interesting. If I remember the next one coming up, yeah, I do remember what the next one's going to be. But really interesting. So the Chromie, first of all, is a really bad choice here into the Li-Ming. Li-Ming absolutely owns Chromie. It's one of the big problems with Chromie is that Li-Ming is pretty much a hard counter in the sense that Chromie loves blowing up squishy heroes, especially backline assassins. Like, for example, the Vala that we're trying to pick. And there you go, a Nubkeks, which is... It just made this draft so interesting because there's so many hard counters. A lot of heroes tend to be soft counters, in my opinion. Like they're pretty good against each other. I'm not a fan of these 2 final picks from us. I'll talk about why later. I walked away from this draft thinking this is a really bizarre draft where it was very strange. The Chromie Nubkeks, I think, sums it up super well because well, yeah, I mean, the reason that Li-Ming is so good against Chromie normally is really good at blowing up those squishy backline targets. Again, Vala is a nice example of that. Well, Li-Ming completely counters that because she has a level 1 talent called Force Armor. Whenever you hit a hero with your arcane missiles, your magic missiles, which are on like a 3-second cooldown or something, you gain a stack of spell armor, 50% spell armor, half damage, which is just massively effective against Chromie. She basically tries to combo you with a couple of relatively spaced out but very hard hitting spells, which is absolutely perfect for Force Armor to counter. It works so well. And then also the fact that Li-Ming can dodge out of Temporal Loop if you're really good with your timing with Teleport. So she can just simply dodge the spells. She can also hit Chromie quite well. So it's a real problem for Chromie. It's one of the big reasons that I think Chromie does so poorly is that, well, if you pick Chromie, it opens the enemy team up. They can just pick Li-Ming. It's difficult to ever pick Chromie when Li-Ming is active because they're both long-range heroes. But yeah, I think it's a pretty hard counter. Speaking of hard counters, though, Nubkeks is a hard counter to Li-Ming. So it's like, whoa, those two picks, it's like you picked yourself into me hard countering you, but then you responded in turn. I think the Nubkeks really saved their draft for them here by picking a hard counter to the Li-Ming. It's pretty insane. So Nubkeks has got that built-in spell armor. He keeps spawning these beetles, which will block my skill shots. And most importantly, they'll completely block Arcane Orb, which is a huge problem. So I found that it was really interesting. Those two picks mean so much to Li-Ming. And the enemy team finishes off with a Trond. So their damage is, they've got very low damage, but they've got a lot of CC and lockdown, which we have to watch out for. On our team, we have two heroes that can hook effectively. We've got the Stitches hook, we've got the Artanis flip. We don't have a ton of follow-up for that. We've got like no stuns, which is kind of shitty. We've got a couple of slows, but that's it. But it's gonna be fairly difficult, especially for me looking at this. I'm like, all right, let's take a look. We got their Artanis flip, the Stitches hook. It's gonna be hard for me to land my stuff. I'm gonna have to wait a little bit patiently after those, or even try to predict them in advance. It's not gonna be super simple to actually land that stuff. Stitches hook does go in. You can see throughout the magic, the Arcane Orb, but it did catch ETC. Also bear in mind, Stitches can grab Dampen Magic. Not sure if he did, but he can grab Dampen Magic, which is also really good against Chromie. And a Nubkeks, of course, can grab Dampen Magic, which is really good against Li-Ming. It's quite funny. But anyway, we have the Vala. Why wasn't I a huge fan of the Vala pick? Well, I think Chromie is really good against Vala. I wouldn't pick Vala into Chromie personally. Vala is so squishy. And you're just going to be super vulnerable. Same thing with the Rhaegar. At least he's got Cleanse. But I'm not sure about Rhaegar here, honestly. We don't have a Bloodlust team comp at all. So yeah, not a huge fan of that. But we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. So trying to land some of these spells. Not having huge success, but we'll see how things progress here. Land some abilities on the Trond. Fire the Arcane Orb that away. But we get knocked up by the Nubkeks, so that was a nice move by him. At this stage, okay, we know Trond is dead. Let's try with the Arcane Orb. You can see with the Arcane Orbs, what we're doing, pretty much more so than anything else, actually finish her off with a Q there. And then do two teleports, actually. One teleport to dodge away from them, get in range of the Trond, and then another teleport following up straight away. It was pretty close. But yeah, the Arcane Orbs, even though they missed, they did funnel the Trond into running in a direction that would ultimately lead to her death. So they're not terrible in that sense. It's something important that you can do with skill shots, especially when you're chasing someone. You've got them in a bad situation. Another classic example of that would be you catch them out in the lane. They're running back towards their gate. And let's say you're Muradin. You throw a Stormbolt to hit them as if they were about to run straight for the gate. They walk backwards towards your teammates. You can see that's why Li-Ming is good against Chromie, by the way. That's a lot of damage right there. And Chromie stands still to cast her spells, so that's pretty nice. Nice dodge by Meowx. Like I said, this guy's really good. Like, this guy's a proper Grandmaster, in my opinion. So you can see why I talk badly about other Grandmasters quite a lot. Where I talk badly about other players quite often. Like, and I can be so critical. Maybe this will put it in perspective a little bit. It's like watching this Trond, watching Meowx, who I do think is a genuinely a really good player. Seeing how they play, especially from like the enemy team's perspective, might make it a little bit clearer. You can see that was not good aim by me. I thought he might still be in the brush because I hadn't spotted him move out, and I thought he would have moved out quicker. We're still going to chase him down, get some good damage down. See, actually threw the Arcane Orb to the right there, expecting him to go right, and I threw the magic missiles to the left. Now we're going to die because unfortunately Sylvanas is here as well. The whole team is here, unfortunately. We do go down. I think if Sylvanas hadn't been there, we would have just about escaped. But it's not the end of the world. We traded 1 for 1. Meowx is saying, leave me alone. It was definitely a bit of a personal vendetta in this game. I was kind of like, I want to try and kill you as much as possible. You want you to try and kill me? It's going to be a bit of a laugh. I was saying, what are friends for? What are friends for? Yeah, it was kind of interesting, but you can see I was kind of throwing, again, the skill shots in the dark, throwing them in both directions to try to cover all things, try to make it so that, okay, if you dodge one skill shot, you're going to walk into the other, or if you dodge a skill shot, you're going to have to walk into the team or something like that. Unfortunately, Vala is dead. We do hit a Nubkeks, but you can see, like, with his, with Dampen Magic, we do absolutely nothing to him. That's why he's so good against Li-Ming. There's also a bit of a problem in this that it was actually quite difficult to actually stack up force armor charges, because these guys are pretty good at dodging, and we don't really have any lockdown of our own. And also every Sylvanas cube does remove a stack of that, so you have to be careful of that. So whenever I don't have force armor, I'm going to be much more careful of the chromie. You can see the force armor counter will be in the bottom left on the buff bar. You can stack up to 4 times. I grabbed Calamity at level 7, kind of mixing up the build. So I went for force armor, as I've talked about a bunch, at level 1. At level 4 I went for dominance, which is you get healed every time you get a kill. I figure that might be the best thing to go for overall. Rhaegar's pretty weak in terms of his healing output, especially if he goes Bloodlust. We're going to get like a chain heal, and that's it. So I figured the dominance would work pretty well. There we go, actually catch a B-net player here rotating around. Good dodge by the Sylvanas again. We don't have lockdown, so nothing much we can do there. Nice turn in by a Nubkeks, kind of securing that. Val's gone very far forwards and is going to go down, overextending. Can she pick up a kill on Sylvanas? She does, so makes her death kind of worthwhile. We pick up a kill on Tyrande as well. So 1 for 1. Or, sorry, excuse me, 1 for 2, which is a good trade overall for us. Though the XP is still fairly equal. The enemy team is still here and still fighting. Teammates do need to be careful of the chromie, but we pick up 1 kill. Unfortunately, Nubkeks, I've run out of mana, and a Nubkeks has his cooldown off on his E, so he is able to walk away and escape. This is one of the problems with this Li-Ming build, is without the mana talent at level 1, power hungry, you will be a bit more mana starved. That's just the way it's going to be. I want to stay here for this to get this big minion wave, and then I can Hearthstone back for mana. I obviously want to get back for mana soon, but there's a lot of XP here. We can see Stitches actually comes up, so we're able to get back. Stepping behind the gate just to make sure we're not in vision, so they're not sure. I mean, they should know I'm Hearthstoning, but, you know, just to leave a little bit of mystery, a little bit of mystique in terms of where we're going. Picking danger, we know that there's 4 members of the enemy team there near middle. I'm not going to be there, so our teammates need to be really, really careful. I'm going to come back here, clear out this. Rhaegar unfortunately does die before we can arrive. So overextending there, not respecting the movements of the enemy team and how they were all kind of clumped up towards mid lane. We can see they're all pushing bottom, so we can just stay here and push out the mid lane. Weakness of Li-Ming, of course, is very low wave clear. We're going to clear this out. Vala's going to be pushing in. We're going to rotate back. We're actually going to take the safe route as well, coming back behind our keep and running down to the bottom lane. Way too risky to take another route here to get across. Way too risky. So we will arrive just about in time to protect and defend here. Probably looking to get level 10 before, or wait for the enemy team to pick their heroics. I was waiting for ETC, see if he picks Stage Dive. If he picked Stage Dive, we would have picked something different. Trying to focus that damage on the Nubkeks. He might die. He's healing off of his heroic though, so I'm not sure. You can see I haven't played Calamity Li-Ming in the longest time, trying to use Calamity on the minion wave like an absolute boss. That has been patched out. That's not a thing anymore. Nubkeks, you're a big noob. I know, I'm sorry. But yeah, Calamity, that level 7 talent, which makes our teleport do damage. Now only to heroes. This is literally the first time I've played Calamity Li-Ming since that patch, whenever that was. I wanted to disintegrate this wave. Unfortunately, their Tannis had split the wave, so it was kind of a waste actually of the cooldown. Could have used it for something better. Just wanted to get that wave pushing in. We're going to steal away this siege camp, which is pretty nice. And we secured ourselves a pretty good lead. Going to throw an arcane orb this way, just in case they did overextend coming back that away. And we're going to try guide these things in. Not the best swap in the world, but it's okay-ish. We get some good damage. ETC stage diving in. Big wailing arrow comes out and silences our Tannis. Artanis throws out Suppression Pulse, but it is too late. Nothing he could have done there. It was just really nice play by the enemy team. I think Rhaegar, we don't know what his cooldowns were. He could have maybe done something to save me, but it's not the end of the world. The Stitches combo attempting to kill the Tyrande, but it's not going to happen. Remember, we only have 2 real damage dealers, which are myself and Vala. Vala was top lane. ETC was up against her, which means that she should be able to push in and do stuff up top. But they were going to win that fight down bottom. So that was a case of, I think, just a really well orchestrated gank by them. So Meowx is saying could have taken, he means Wave of Force, which is the other Li-Ming heroic. Honestly, I think I was just kind of a bit overextended in this sort of situation as well. I think the main thing, I'm just face checking too much. I think, you know, a cleanse from the Rhaegar, a top level support player would be paying a bit more attention to what their teammates are doing and would be able to land cleanses in those sort of situations. But then that would be too much to expect out of Diamond 1 anyway. But yeah, I'm just saying, like, I'm face checking too much. So I was kind of noting that to myself, like, alright, too many face checks, need to be more careful. Teammates are in a pretty bad problem here. Gonna scout this out with Disintegrate. As you can see, it doesn't do too much, but it does a little bit, hitting the Tyrande. And you can see I'm pushing in aggressively, trying to help out my team, but Chromie has arrived as well. Vala is dead, so this is pretty bad. Tries to dodge stuff with teleport, but it's not going to last. I am going to go down here. Obviously, the entire enemy team is here. Our team fighting is really not very good, or at least we need Vala there to actually win a team fight. If you look at our comp, without Vala, what do we have? We have Artanis, who does low to moderate amount of damage. At this level, pretty low. He scales up really well with Triple Strike Titan Killer, but at this level he doesn't do much damage. We've got Li-Ming, who does a lot of damage, but gets super hard countered by a Nubkeks, and also relies very much on resets and actually getting kills. Vala gets absolutely melted, unfortunately. What she was trying to do there, I'm not sure if Vala can vault a well-timed Chromie combo. I don't know. It's actually kind of open. We pick off the Chromie anyway. Kind of a bit of a waste to Disintegrate, but we're getting some good damage down. I'm not sure if Vala can vault out of it, and Vala did pick up, I believe, the Q talents at 13 instead of Gloom, so she's got no real defenses against the Chromie combo aside from a cleanse by Rhaegar, which is a problem. We dodge the Nubkeks, but we get stunned by the Tyrande. Expression Pulse comes out, only hits a Nubkeks. And we're trying to do what damage we can. We've got to be pretty careful here. As you can see, a noob is a big problem for us. We really need Vala there to focus down Nubkeks. This is a big problem though with the Vala pick, is that Vala is actually quite substantially ability damage. So Nubkeks is pretty good against her too, especially Q-Build Vala. The Nubkeks is pretty tanky against that. So we'll see how things go. Artanis is looking to maybe get a bit of an invasion off here. I'm going to take back this bottom tower with Vala. Now we can see ETC and Sylvanas are pushing hard up top. Looks like Chromie is on the way too. So this is pretty awkward. We could look into pushing bottom very hard. We could look into stealing these siege camps or something. But they're kind of outplaying us right now in terms of the map rotation, really using Sylvanas to her maximum potential in terms of taking these things out. Looks like we are going for a flank here. Try catch him out of position. Artanis is on the case. We actually dodged the power slide just barely at the last second. Might have missed anyway. Trying to do max damage with our heroic here, our Disintegrate. Just trying to get damage down as we can. But you see, this fight's gone horribly wrong. The Stitches had gorged ETC, really did nothing for us. And Chromie's trying to do some damage to us now. As you can see though, we can dodge the Chromie stuff quite easily. Teleport is very fast, so we're quite easy and quite able to get out of that if needs be. Trying to kill this Nubkeks. He has blood for blood though. That's how he got that big chunky heal, and that is enough for him to make it out of this alive. Tyrande Owl looking to catch us out here as well. The enemy team is going to get multiple altars here with us losing the team fight that badly. Artanis is going in hard, and we're going to try to defend him or protect him as best we can, but looks like he's just going to go down. We're going to back off here to the right. I'm going to teleport to make sure it probably can't hit us. I'm going to swing up here. We still have Disintegrate. We've got no mana, but this is something you can do, is obviously use Disintegrate. It's super long range to interrupt. That might have actually saved... We stopped Tyrande from capping that, and she actually had to back away from the Arcane Orb, which was nice, because it wasn't going to hit her anyway. ETC is here. We're going to be able to take ETC down, which is a bit of XP for us, which is good, but we are very far down now in terms of the shots on the core. Our teammates are all kind of like raging at each other and everything in the chat. I actually wasn't paying attention to that at all this game. I was pretty much just completely focused on actual gameplay, on playing the best I could, because it was a pretty difficult game. L just barely misses, and I wanted to try to play well against Meowx as much as possible. I was kind of just focused on that, and it was quite fun, really. But yeah, I think these guys are kind of raging at each other. I want you guys to like pay attention, like talk about the comps and the picks, or think about the comps and the picks and how they kind of went wrong for us in this particular game. We get some decent damage down on the Vala. Nice Starfall actually. We should probably move out of that. We do teleport out. Rhaegar gets... Oh, he's gonna die. He's very dead. Yep. He does pop Bloodlust before he dies. But yeah, think about the talents, the compositions, how they work together in terms of both teams, really. I've already covered a good bit of it, but a little bit extra. We've run out of mana, so there's nothing much we can do. But someone has been gorged. It's Sylvanas, so Sylvanas should die. You can see I was holding on. I only had enough mana for one spell, so I was holding on to my cooldowns for as long as possible. In the end, we didn't even use one. So, it was kind of a funny thing, but Sylvanas died anyway. Level 17 to 17. The enemy team probably gonna hit 20 first, and they do have a lead here. We get clocked by the Tron arrow, not arrow, owl, and it hurts quite a bit. They're just kind of having a bit of banter back and forth. That was another thing I actually didn't think about, but works quite well, is that force armor also stops those owls quite a lot. But of course we didn't have a force armor stack there, so I'm just teasing him, saying he must be stream sniping me to land an owl like that. Oh, he's looking for another one. Didn't get that one though. Altars activating quite soon. Savannah isn't here, but she should get back in time. This is a big ass wave. I'm gonna try to clear that out as much as possible for some XP. Try collapse here on this ETC. He does power slide through the teammates. Nicely done by him. As you can see, this Nubkeks is a big problem. Trying to focus damage on the ETC. If we could kill someone, anyone, get a reset, that'd be pretty good for us. Suppression pulse hits nothing. There's a gorge on the Tran, but Tran just uses sprint to get away. I love this actually. He told me after the game, he was like, yeah, I intentionally ate a whole bunch of sprints from, I ate a whole bunch of the, finish her off with a basic attack. He was like, I just eat the hooks intentionally so that I could just sprint out and save my team. Pretty cool. Nubkeks, very sneaky to the bottom, actually steals away that altar. Well played by him. We're chasing for the kills. Didn't even notice that was on. I think Stitches did, but didn't get there in time. Rhaegar is raging super hard. Cannot believe that we could possibly lose an altar. In fact, we probably shouldn't have. But with Vala dead, it is, again, quite difficult to actually follow up here. I think we're... Again, I want you guys to be thinking about in what ways the compositions for both teams are dysfunctional or how they're playing against each other. And kind of draw some conclusions from that. I feel like we could have been pushing in here pretty aggressively. If you look at the enemy team, we blink in on top of... Tehran. We actually get interrupted though by the ETC, but we should have been looking for something really aggressive here. There's two enemy heroes dead. In fact, I think it's both of their damage dealers. It is both of their damage dealers. We should have been looking to push in something. Instead, our Tannis went to steal a siege camp. I went to push in. It didn't really work out. I think just some miscommunication and misprioritization of what we should be doing. So Vala fighting Sylvanas in mid lane is going to lose. But our Tannis has arrived. This could be a kill for us. Big wailing arrow comes out. Doesn't land too well. Looks like that's a dead Sylvanas. ETC jumping in too. This is a really good position for us to be in. Vala chasing. Didn't quite land the second Q though. ETC able to escape from there with the power slide. That's a pretty big win for us though. Sylvanas dead for 50 seconds. We're going to be able to hopefully take the boss. We're certainly going to try. Hey, there's a Chromie. Caught her with the W. Didn't catch her with anything else. We got one stack of force armor. Almost gets loose on the owl. Stitch is looking for a hook, doesn't quite get it. Again, I'm pretty scared of this Nubkeks. He's had pretty good aim so far. He's been playing a pretty good game. The enemy team is invading. He's firing this off, trying to remove that spell armor from him and do what damage we could. Didn't work out too well. Gonna teleport out, actually dodging stuns from a Nubkeks, and I think ETC as well, dodging the Chromie combo. And we do go down in the end. Rhaegar still focusing on the boss. But 2 kills for us. Sylvanas was still dead. Looks like the boss didn't actually fully reset. We get a triple kill. Boss goes down as well. And this is looking really good for us. Hook comes out but doesn't quite catch the noob. And noob is able to make it out of there alive. Our teammates are looking to push in, take out a keep, and then cap these altars. We are massively in numbers advantage, which is pretty good. I actually like what Rhaegar is doing here. I think... Just because of people weren't really responding very well to the pings and stuff, I probably would have done the same thing. Just secure the dangerous altar and make sure we can get it. Fortunately, the Tannis combo does not land on the Sylvanas, so that's not going to be a kill for us. But yeah, ideally we would have taken out the keep then, secure the 2 altars. We should have been able to, but just people weren't moving that well. So I think just safety first, just grab it. You know, if it comes down to one shot in the end, at that stage you kind of go, ah, that sucks. But if it doesn't, you know, better to be safe than sorry, especially when we're this low in core health ourselves. And for the first time really in a long time, we have hit an XP advantage. We're ahead. We're also ahead on core HP. Things are looking pretty good. We're also up in terms of towers too. Gonna help Vala clear this out. Nice arcane orb, does tons of damage, and we finish off that wave. I like the idea of taking both siege camps right here. Gonna go help the Stitches, who is doing one. Big Owl comes through. Force armor absorbs it so we don't take much damage. That's good for us. Stitch is looking for a hook. Just gets a Chromie shot to his face in return. But worth it to try get a pick there. I mean, like a Stitch's hook into Gorge at this stage will probably be a kill, which would be pretty nice for us. Throwing an orb in, trying to catch Sylvanas, catch ETC instead. Need to be careful at this point. Our force armor is gone. Starfall comes out pretty early, just mostly for wave clear. Need to be pretty careful in terms of positioning. Vala's in a tough spot. There is cleanse comes in, but it's pretty late. Vala is going down. Bloodlust comes out, also pretty late, I would say. Rhaegar actually dies, picked off by Chromie, I do believe. And our Tannis is being chased down, but we've lost our healer. Our Tannis is going to die. There's pretty much no way around it. Hook lands, but it's on ETC. It's not going to make too much happen. Chromie actually hadn't used her heroic in that fight. Uses the heroic to kill the Vala. And we do lose that fight. This is looking pretty bad now. I think it's kind of dodgy positioning all around in that last sort of situation. Didn't go well for us. I'm trying to delay them as much as possible. Just, you know, poking and then teleporting away and things like that. But it's not going to achieve too much. Again, like I said, I know you guys love when I report people. I know you guys love it. Never tilts anyone. Never gets comments in that regard. I probably would have reported some of these guys, but like I said, I wasn't paying attention. I'm even still not paying much attention here. I was just completely focused on the gameplay. I do love Li-Ming. Li-Ming's a lot of fun, and this was a pretty tough game to play her in. Trying to work around an Uberak, trying to work around Chromie and all of that stuff. We dodged that stuff, which is somewhat worthwhile. Stitches looks like he's in a tough spot right there, though. He does... I was trying to just kill the Tyrant. Probably a mistake. I guess it doesn't really matter though. With the towers being taken out, we're obviously gonna lose. But anyway, yeah, these guys were raging like crazy. I just had fun playing against my friend though, and that was pretty much the only thing I was paying attention to. Was just ignoring these guys. But they were all raging at each other. They're all going nuts. I hope you guys have been thinking about you know, their compositions and the talent choices and what went wrong, because I'm going to cover them now at the end. We'll take a quick look at the stats and stuff like that. They're hilarious. But anyway, we'll take a look at the stats and the talents and whatever much more. We kill 7 heroes, similar players average 5.6, so whatever. So just kind of laughing, saying, yeah, my teammates were just flaming each other all game. You can see our Tannis did the top damage on our team, which shows the dysfunction. Force Armor Dominance, Calamity, Disintegrate, Illusionist, Mirror Ball, and Temporal Flux. And yeah, we lost that game. Let's talk about the talents. Let me actually just bring this up so I can check, have all the talents for the teammates up at the same time. But I think there were fundamentally some pretty large mistakes in terms of talent builds and in terms of picks. I think obviously from the draft screen, I was pretty concerned about the Stitches pick, right? That was kind of obvious. I don't think the Stitches pick was a good pick right from the start. Just the problem there is that we have 2 heroes that do the same thing in a way that doesn't synergize with each other. So we've got our Tannis, who does flips, right? Effectively, they're very similar to Stitches hooks. And then we've got Stitches, who does the hooks. Now, the problem is that neither one actually works well together. You know, our Tannis flips someone back into the team. Stitches brings almost nothing to following up on that. You know, he's not like other warriors. Let's say like they first picked ETC, but it's not like, let's say, a Muradin, who can follow up on that with a Stormbolt, you know, with a Thunderclap. He can lock them down and help secure the kill. You know, Stitches doesn't bring that. He brings very little to actually following up on our Tannis hook. Same thing with the Stitches. When our Tannis does a hook, sorry, I'm getting this wrong. When Stitches does a hook, our Tannis also does very little to follow up. You know, he's okay. He does some damage, but he doesn't bring a whole ton in terms of follow-up to actually secure that and to get the kill there, which is a bit of a problem in terms of the team composition. We didn't actually have any stuns, and our team had no stuns, right? We had nothing to lock people down and actually get kills. And like I said at the start of the video, it made it difficult for me as Li-Ming to hit my skill shots on these targets that were being hooked in simply because, you know, we didn't have any lockdown. At best, they were going to be slowed. So we would have some slows. But it's very important to actually land those skill shots, and it made it very difficult for me to do. In terms of the talent builds, though, I think there are 2 very large mistakes in terms of our heroic choices. And then arguably other ones. So actually, let's look at the arguably ones. So for me, let's look at me first. Disintegrate instead of Wave of Force. What are the pros and cons there? So Wave of Force... the fundamental reason why I chose Disintegrate is that I just barely played any games on Wave of Force, so I'm not super comfortable with using it. And then also, I would have picked Wave of Force to counter ETC Mosh Pits, because again, we didn't have any stuns. So that was why you could see me checking the talent screen And then when he hadn't picked that up, I decided to go for Disintegrate, because I figured that we would actually need just a bit more damage. I wanted to add as much damage as possible to help secure kills against these squishier targets. Also, I figure, you know, that damage is going to be very effective against the Tyrant, the Sylvanas, the Chromie. They're very weak in terms of their healing, their survivability. They're squishy heroes. They got very little healing, so they've got a Tyrant. So I said the more damage I can add actually is going to get a lot of value in this particular game. So that's why I went for Disintegrate. I think, obviously, Wave of Force could have potentially been much better. That would have been some follow-up for the Stitches hook, knock them back towards the team, maybe, and things like that. So Wave of Force definitely another option, but I opted for Disintegrate here. I think it's you know, arguably Wave of Force would be better. I think it's a small thing though, relatively. I think with Vala, also a relatively small thing. She picked Strafe up instead of Rain of Vengeance. I probably would have picked Rain of Vengeance here for some stuns, just to help lock down the ETC and a Nubarak. But it's not, again, it's not a huge deal. That's not a huge deal. I think, you know, Strafe is also acceptable. I think either one, you know, you could potentially one be slightly more ideal, but they're relatively small. I think that's the case with both of those heroics from us. And then a similar thing with Stitches. I don't think the Stitches fits very well. And the Gorge is okay-ish. I think, again, the other heroic, I don't even know what it's called. The Bile one would have been pretty good, you know, slowing and just doing a lot of damage to the ETC and a Nubarak. It's making it difficult for them to actually dive after us and follow us and stuff like that. I think that would have worked really well. I think it might have been a bit better than Gorge, but, you know, Gorge did okay. It's hard to say, again, with that. But yeah, there you go. That's what I think about those. I think much larger mistakes in terms of the heroic choices, and then we'll go to talents. But in terms of the heroic and the gameplay, actually, in terms of the enemy team's heroics, I think the enemy team all picked really good heroics. They're all spot on with those. In terms of the heroics, where I think there's a very large mistake, I think most obviously the biggest problem in terms of our heroics was Suppression Pulse from Artanis. Alright, look at the enemy team's composition. ETC and Nubarak as their, you know, double tanks. Sylvanas, Chromie as their damage dealers, and the Tyrande. They don't have even one hero that's a high priority blind target, let alone multiple heroes that are high priority blind targets. I think this is a very good case of someone picking the heroic that is meta at the moment without really understanding why it's meta or what it's doing. Suppression Pulse is picked so often right now, and it is a really good heroic because there's often quite a lot of these basic attack focused heroes, but the enemy team has none of them. So Suppression Pulse is actually doing almost nothing. You know, Suppression Pulse Sylvanas. Sylvanas doesn't really care. She's the one that would care the most. Chromie doesn't give a damn. A Nubarak doesn't care. ETC. None of the enemy team really care if they're blinded. It doesn't really matter. So Suppression Pulse really not doing much here. Whereas Purifier Beam would have been massively effective against the enemy team. Purifier Beam is really good against Chromie. She's got no mobility. She has to stand still to cast her abilities. They got this big cast time. Purifier Beam is so good against her. It's really good against Tyrande as well, though she does have Sprint here, so it wouldn't be so good. It can be very good against ETC and Sylvanas once they've used their mobility spells. And then a Nubarak, once he's used his E, it's very... actually, I'm not sure about a noob, right? That's an interesting one. He's very squishy, but he does have that base spell armor now, so I'm not sure. But certainly would make his life very difficult, you know, and would have been spreading damage probably to ETC as well. So it would have been pretty good against the front line. I think there's multiple heroes that Purifier Beam could have been effective against, depending on the team fight. I think that's such a thrown away opportunity for the heroic. I think that would have made a very large difference to our win rate if we'd had Purifier Beam instead of Suppression Pulse. I think that's a really big mistake, and just the trap of falling into picking for the meta as opposed to actually thinking about what the heroic does and what the enemy team composition is and how it interacts with that. I think it's a really big mistake. Also, he missed loads of them, which doesn't help, but it doesn't really matter too much. I think Purifier Beam would have been way better there. Then Rhaegar also picked up Bloodlust, which I think is a pretty big mistake. You know, Bloodlust, useless with Li-Ming, useless with Stitches, pretty much. It's okay with Artanis, and it's decent with Vala, but we really don't have a Bloodlust-worthy team. I really feel with, like, in order to have a Bloodlust team, you want, at the very least, 2 of your damage dealers to scale really well with that. You know, you want something like a Samuro and a Raynor, you know, like Thrall, Raynor, Rhaegar is like the classic Bloodlust comp that has been dominant recently because they all scale really well with Bloodlust and it's synergized with Earthquake and stuff like that. I don't think Bloodlust worked very well here. I don't think it really got any value. I think it's a waste. I think Ancestral Healing, again, would have been much better, you know, against the Chromie. To help Artanis and Stitches be more aggressive, to help myself and Violet be more aggressive. I think Ancestral was definitely the way to go here. I think the Bloodlust was a big mistake. And then he also upgraded Bloodlust to 20, which is awful. Oh no, why would you do that? He upgraded the Bloodlust healing from basic attacks. Well, I guess, you know, Vala and Artanis are mildly thankful, but not really. I mean, Storm Shield would have been 10 times better right there. In order to save yourself from Chromie, to save your teammates, Storm Shield all the way. I think that's a big mistake. Even Rewind, you know, for more stuff like that, but oh well. So I think those two heroics are really bad choices, just picking because they're strong in the meta right now without understanding why they're actually strong and what they do. So that was kind of interesting. The enemy team's heroics were all on point. In terms of the talent builds then, overall, it's funny, like the Nubkeks pick was really good. Be a little bit critical of his level 7 and 13 talents, but that's not too important. The Chromie ended up playing quite well. I think another one to point out as something really good was actually Tyrande picking Sprint. It's like Meowx, like I said, I was chatting to him after the game and he was saying like, yeah, what I did intentionally was I picked Sprint and then I intentionally ate all the like the hooks and flips and shit aimed at Sylvanas or Chromie and then I just sprinted out. Again, we didn't have any lockdown, so he's able to just completely avoid that and basically neutralize what our comp was trying to do. Is really that's really smart thinking. Again, picking a non-meta talent, a kind of uncommon talent. Tyrande solo healer with Sprint, you don't really see it very much, but he was able to work around with what he had and then pick a talent that fit precisely to what we were trying to do. Like that's a real good example of a comparison. That's what I was talking about. It's like you can see this, you know, an actual Grandmaster level player. You can note, I think it's very noticeable that they're just a step ahead of these other players, you know, 5 steps ahead actually of the sort of diamond standard play that we have been seeing, and hopefully gives you a bit of an insight into how I'm kind of raging a little bit in some of these games and being so critical. But it's like just really smart talent choices, going outside the box with the talent choices, really good positioning, micro within the team fights, you know, sidestepping Li-Ming stuff with no fear. That's just really good play that we don't see super often. Yeah, kind of another, yeah, I mean, there's other minor things, like Artanis picked up Phase Bulwark at 13, because he was scared of Chromie, but Chromie really wasn't doing anything to him. I think Triple Strike, 10 times better. Yeah, that's a minor thing. Yeah, stuff like that, you know, and then just in terms of the gameplay, our gameplay was a bit all over the place. I'd say the Rhaegar in particular, I'm not the best Rhaegar myself, but I don't think he was particularly strong on the Rhaegar. I think that was a big problem. It wasn't a great pick, considering our composition. It wasn't a great pick into the enemy composition. His cleanses weren't very good, and then he had the bad heroic and level 20 choices and stuff like that. Made it a bit more difficult, but overall I thought it was a cool game. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I decided to leave like the kind of critique of the enemy team and our team as well to the end of this. So that it wouldn't kind of intrude on the gameplay at all. And then also asking you guys, I thought that would be kind of fun in this game, right? Would be to ask you guys to like think about in what ways that the team were dysfunctional, so that you guys could be thinking about that and how our comp worked together and the talent picks. Now obviously you didn't have all the talents up there for you to see, so it might be, you would have obviously missed out on some of that stuff, and that's completely understandable. Yeah, I mean, hopefully it still gave you some, you were able to pick up on some of that stuff, or maybe some of that stuff kind of slipped by and was kind of insightful and interesting to hear about and see at the end of the game. But yeah, I mean, there you go, guys. It was a cool game. I just, you know, even though our team were raging and stuff like that, I wasn't paying any attention during the game. And I just kind of had fun playing Li-Ming, who's like a very fast-paced hero. A lot of fun playing her. It was a tough game for Li-Ming going up against the Nubkeks, and with the rest of our team not working that well. So we didn't have many resets to play with, unfortunately, and it showed. Like I said, the hero damage, Artanis topping the hero damage, it's a really bad sign. We just didn't have resets to work with, unfortunately, in those team fights, really to capitalize on and do as much damage as we could. So that kind of sucked, but oh well, there you go. It was a cool game nonetheless, and always fun to play against Meowx, a good player, and hopefully it was cool for you guys to see, you know, someone that you know is a really good player and kind of see the impact that they can have. And yeah, it's kind of cool to see solo healer Tyrande from a good player. Hope you guys enjoyed that one as well. I'll see you all next time for more Heroes of the Storm. Bye bye.